I think this is really what we look forward to the most as well, yeah, because I mean, all the analysis and all the data is on one side, but what is it really telling us? What is the depth behind the numbers, and the insight of what sense can we make of it? That's what we really get excited about. And here are some key trends. By the way, of course, Fit Insider, I think Ben has mentioned this right at the top, the fantastic partners, they came in and really helped set the tone for stuff that we knew was already happening in the industry, but to get their perspective has been super fun. So we collaborated in this report in a big way with those guys. And they also believed in the same three trends that we said, or rather we found through the numbers. The number one is at-home fitness is something that was happening in a big way, but COVID just accelerated it. Number two, the big business of recovery, how sleep, meditation, monitoring of all of those, a different set of parameters, not just your activity, but your recovery from the activity, and how that's transforming in this post-COVID world. And the high performance lifestyle. And that talks about recovery, but also in a bigger context of how we're measuring so many different parts of our day, our activity, our nutrition, and all those things. We'll get into that in a bit of detail. And the last little tidbit, the pony of the race, but we think is going to catch up really, really soon, is the economy around the fitness creator, how more and more solutions are empowering the individual trainers, gyms, etc., or rather how dynamic is changing between the trainers and the gyms. But let's start with at-home fitness, yeah. And I think the big thing with this is, I mean, COVID, of course, kind of forced it, but this was not a trend that emerged in 2020. This is a trend, and I talked about it right at the start of the session. In 2017, we saw after the 325 million investment in Peloton, we really saw it explode. Just for context, Peloton did a revenue of 60 million in 2016. In 2020, apparently they're set to close at 2 billion nearly in revenue, 1.8 billion, thereabouts is the number that we got. So you can see it's like really doubling up over that period of time. And why? It's because people are owning their fitness on their own time. Right? People want different solutions that they can have that connected live experience, which they get when they go to a gym, but also with the flexibility of having that device under your control in your own home, and do it on your time. And that's become a big thing, right? Obviously, post-COVID, it's how people are using and managing their own time. It's not just at work; it's in fitness and in different parts of your life. So the shift clearly has been, and these are the models that will change, and gyms will react, have to. It's also pretty clear, I think, that they're not going to go away. I think there is still an ecosystem of people who want to participate, but having it more integrated. That's what we talk about when we say the omni-channel experience. So if I want to be able to go to a gym, I should have that facility and go, work out with my buddies or make friends with people, or I don't know, find a date. Gyms were notorious places for people to meet new people pre Tinder and things like that. Yeah, so all of those dynamics are still important in this world. So the gyms won't disappear. It's just about how they evolve, right? Because gyms are also going to have to provide classes for you to do at home. The subscription service is now not driven on, traditionally it was like gyms were primarily banking on people not showing up, right? I mean, they have X number of members who pay for their services. They obviously don't have the same number of devices in the gym. So they know that people are using it at different times, number one. Number two, a pretty large percentage of them come very rarely. Now, I think you're seeing models become more promoting activity, where gyms want you to come and use their services, and they want to be present in different aspects of your life. So this integrated approach to fitness solutions is going to be a big part of that trend. Another big part of that trend is the community angle, right? So one of the reasons that you loved going to the gym, or in times that you did, or spin classes, or all these things really became a thing, is that people were coming together and having the shared experience. That is now still happening at home. All of these applications that you see, the great companies that we've listed here, and there are so many more, Miratonal, Peloton, Tempo, all these guys, they provide that aspect of community. So you're competing with somebody else, and you're racing against somebody else, and you're lifting with somebody else. All these things, this community angle and shared community is a big one. And the third one, third key aspect of the fitness at home thing, which I want to highlight, is gamification. And this, with this community and creating digital leaderboards, is about how you create gamified fitness experiences. And making sure people are not just doing fitness because they have to, but it's like a fun, it's genuinely a fun activity that they look forward to. And these gamification layers also create a lot of stickiness for users. It creates more opportunities of monetization for even the brands, because you can microtransactions and all these things, these terms that we're familiar with, but bringing them into your fitness activity. I mean, those are really powerful themes. So fitness at home has been huge during COVID, but know that COVID only accelerated a deep, deep underlying trend. Ben already spoke about some of the big names that are all and tech giants that have entered the market, and we see that continuing for a while. Next one, we talk about recovery. Yeah, and I don't know about you guys, but I actually recently got a Fitbit device, which I'm not wearing right now, perfect. But and one of the big reasons I got it was actually to track my sleep. I was really curious about my sleep patterns and stuff. I mean, I had a stepper and a tracker and stuff, as we all do. Everybody has it on their phone as well, right? But sleep measurement and tracking is a really big industry, and sleep is just one part of the bigger conversation around recovery. Yeah, and recovery is now not just about sleep, which I'll talk more about in a second, but access to devices that were previously available only to elite sportsmen. So things like Hyperice or Theragun or damn it, I forget the name. Those cryo pants. I think Hyperice bought recently. But anyway, all these different recovery techniques that after you play or you run or whatever fitness activity that you do, you can come home and do, or rather, if you're an elite athlete, you do them post game. But now all those technologies are available to the end consumer. So if you have an injury, it doesn't mean that you have to take off 3 weeks from your run. You can now use one of these things and get back into running and get your fitness and recovery much faster. So access to devices which were previously only available to the elite is now getting democratized, because technology is more widely available, reducing cost of hardware, faster execution periods from, say, product design to distribution. All these things are making it easier for these products to get out. Not just that, there's a big trend also of athletes backing these devices. If you see LeBron James wearing or using a particular device, or Patrick Mahomes in the case of Hyperice, for example, you see them using a device, it really validates it. And you feel that, hey, I can literally use the same thing that an elite athlete who's on hundreds of millions of dollars a year uses for their recovery, and I have access to it. So athletes getting into this part of the startup investment really makes a lot of sense for the ecosystem as well. So yeah, so it's a couple of different things. So on the recovery side, access to devices which were previously available only to elites, and on the sleep side, yeah, this is where all your meditation apps, not just your sleep tracking, but tools to help you sleep better. And sleep has become such a big theme, I would say, in the last maybe year and a half, 2 years. Apart from Calm and Headspace, we've seen 8 Sleep, all these really smart mattresses. Casper, for example, was a big breakout solution. It's just a mattress. I mean, now that's without the technology, but just the theme of sleep becoming so big, and creating routines around it and different ways that it can happen, from using lighting to using trackers I mentioned, to even using different types of supplements, pills or things that you can consume which are not purely chemical, but some form of naturopathy. There's this whole movement around sleep and how the important role that it plays. And just some of the companies, 8 Sleep, the smart mattress that I just mentioned, Whoop. We've talked about, actually, there was a great question a while ago from Thomas. I hope I'm saying your name correctly, Thomas. One of them was right, sorry, but he was talking about Whoop and the model with which they operate. And Whoop's pricing is like a SaaS company. It is a hardware device. There are sensors on that, so you have to consider it hardware, because without the sensor, there is no product. But they price themselves as a SaaS company, so it's a wristband, but they give you the wristband for free. And all the data, all the power is in the analytics that the platform gives you access to. So lots of different emerging business models. And that kind of brings us to this high performance lifestyle, the third big trend, because sleep and recovery measurement is part of a bigger thing. Everything is tracked. Your activity, your meditation being tracked, how many fitness activities you do a week, your nutrition, uh, uh, even your during the activity using cameras and stuff, how you're performing an activity. It's almost like everything is tracked to be able to give the end user the optimum, to be performing at the optimal level consistently. Again, this is a trend that we see sportsmen have to deal with all the time, right? They have to perform at that level. And all of those technologies that they use, because they're not just about training and nutrition, it's about everything that they do outside, including their home life and stuff. And all of that now becoming available to the end user um, is big, and that's forming a big part of the fitness tech space. Your ability to take control of so many different aspects of your life, from your sleep to your nutrition to tracking your health to different types of health trackers. I mean, we talk about activity trackers, but monitoring glucose levels, monitoring um, um, sweat measurement, breath analyzing measurement to monitor digestion. There are so many interesting devices that we see, and just some of them here. Levels, which is metabolic measurement, URA, it's sleep, but we wanted to make the point that it's part of a bigger cycle, and XPT as well. And these are the thoroughbreds, right? These are the race horses who've been gunning it, the three big trends. But like I mentioned right at the top, the pony of this race is the economy around the fitness creator. And I think this is another one that's building as well. I think with this one, the big trend or the most interesting part is that in terms of the power balance between the gym and the personal trainer, the gym is the facility that you get access to. I'm saying, say, a few years ago, but a lot of that potential that was in the gym was unlocked by the personal trainers. If without them giving you the right routine, and monitoring your routine, monitoring your form, doing all of these things, and keeping you active, like keeping you accountable for your fitness. Without all those things, the gym is not as valuable. Yet the creator, the personal trainers and stuff, they're sharing literally half their revenue, 50-50 with the gym. Sometimes even as high as 70% of that share was going to the gym. So it's disproportionate in terms of value delivery to what the fitness trainer was receiving in terms of compensation. And with gyms closing, it just created a whole different opportunity. Again, COVID has not created this trend; it has just accelerated it, because there were companies who had identified this mismatch, and people are more reliant on personal trainers, and everybody wants to put that photo up on Instagram or whatever social platform, TikTok, that you use, of this before and after transformation. We've all seen them. We've seen a ton of them. We've seen it with people like you don't even know would ever would lift a dumbbell, or just eat carrots all the time, but it's happening. And that's happening because of the role that the individual fitness trainers play. And now there's a really rich ecosystem of solutions catering to them, which help them manage communication with their clients, help them manage all the backend stuff, accounting, bookkeeping, so on, scheduling. And not just that, but also create the content. So video training platforms, something like Sutra, which allows trainers to monetize content in different ways, create and monetize their content. Playbook, again, is a really good example of a solution that helps the individual trainers reach a much wider market. It's almost like, as we say on the slide, it's like arming the rebels, because this was a bit of conflict between the fitness trainers and the gyms before. Now we're seeing a shift in the balance of power to the end fitness creator. With that said, I think we're gonna wrap it up. Ben, are you coming back for this one, or am I doing it? We'll figure it out. Let me. Yeah, there he is. How do you feel?
It's gonna be you, but it's all right.
Yeah, get back in, man. I think it's time to crack a beer as well. Yeah, but before we do that, what were the big highlights of our fitness tech report? Number one, 5.5 billion already invested. That number is actually higher because we've seen so many deals which we kept wanting to throw into our analysis, but we had to call a stop point. The stop point was October, but November and December has seen at least another 200-300 million jump into the fitness tech space. So that number is closer to 6 billion. That's a big number invested in the space. Average ticket size was a record high in 2020, over 20 million, 21 million to be exact. Really big boom we saw in 2020. Again, but 2020 only accelerated a lot of the trends that we were already seeing underlying in the fitness space. In terms of geography, US and New York, no rocket science here, 65%, nearly 64 point something percent in the US, and a third of the overall market coming just from one place. The Big Apple really takes a bite out of the fitness industry. And in terms of hardware and software, we talked about different emerging models. Hardware and software still, it's there. You have from the screen-based hardware devices like the Fitbits of the world, to the non-screen hardware devices like the Whoops of the world, to the pure software players, which are the aggregators like the ClassPasses of the world, to the platforms where the actual video content is, where there are so many of those. Then you have the training equipment guys, and there are the bike guys like Peloton. There are the mirror guys. There's the tempo guy, which is the gym. I mean, there are so many different models in this industry, and each of them is getting a lot of investment. So as the end user, it's a great time. You have literally no excuse to be fit because there's something for you out there in the market. And 8 out of them are making sure that you can do it at home. And then that's the other big trend. Probably the biggest trend is just the rise of the at home. The others are key trends, but rise of at home is big. With that said, Ben, yeah.
Wait. A couple of things, important things. First of all, we got a question in from Chris. I think you mentioned it in one of your slides, but just to highlight that again. Another question, actually. So it's time for some questions. Chris was asking, early in the talk, you mentioned that although the B2B fitness tech deals are 10% of the size of B2C ones, that may be changing. Where do you see the future trends in the B2B market? Just to highlight again, I think you said it already, right?
Yeah. I think, Chris, I hope the last part that we just went through, the rise of the fitness creator. Look, there are two parts of the B2B conversation. Yeah, there is the individual trader, which I think there is a big ecosystem building around, and then there is the physical spaces, the gyms, the facilities, the fitness centers. Now, the gyms and facilities and fitness centers, they have to evolve. There'll be so much, and it's not just about whether they'll exist or not. They will exist, but that mushrooming Starbucks-like concept of them being on every corner probably won't happen. I think, as we said, it has to be a more integrated experience where there's one physical space that you would have access to, and some online and some physical. That's on one side. Number two, the gyms and the physical spaces, the fitness centers and gyms will have to invest big on things like security, safety, like really kind of make it comfortable for people to think about going back to the gyms. Apart from that's just assuming that the regulation opens up everywhere, which in a lot of places it of course still hasn't. But assuming the regulation says, hey, gyms can open, the facilities from themselves, I mean, that's a big thing that they're all going to advertise. We are the safest this, we are the safest that. And it's beyond just having, sanitization liquid or whatever the hell it's called. I'm forgetting that. I think my brain needs a beer now. But
just one thing to add there. I think also what you said before on one of the slides with arming the rebels. I mean, this is the classic Amazon Shopify comparison. Amazon tries to sell everything on their own platform, and Shopify gives the power to small, medium-sized shops and delivers an end-to-end solution to them. And I think in this rather B2B2C market, I think this is where lots of things are going to happen, like what you rightfully said before, giving the coaches tools to attract their clients, to not rely being dependent on the gyms anymore. I think this is also a very interesting B2B sector, even though it's B2B2C.
Yeah, sorry, my it's a bit hoarse right now, but anyway.
That's fine. It happens. Yeah.